I hand it over to, or shall I say, turn it over to Frankie.
Thanks, Paul. Frankie, I'm an addict. It's lovely to see everyone. I had to do a check after the last workshop. We're on workshop number 11. So in the WhatsApp group, you'll see links for previous workshops if you want to have a look at any of the older ones, and you can see Paul before he had a beard. So yeah, as we seasonally change. Yeah, I think there's even one where he's wearing a vest. I'm not sure, but you can check it out. Yeah, tonight's workshop's a bit different. It's interactive. There's no hierarchy here. It doesn't matter how long you've been around, or if you're someone who's relapsed and come back a few times. We just want your experience. What we're planning to do this week is, and before I start, because my internet's so bad, I'm hotspotting off my phone and I'm on my iPad because I'm in the West Country, and our weather's a bit rough here. So if I drop out, I'm sure any of the guys who's doing the workshop, Joe, Lewis, Matt, Simon, even Barry, any of you guys can just carry on with it until I can get to log back in. So yeah, the format of this workshop is interactive, plus I want to hear your experiences, good and bad. The way this workshop, we're going to try and do it, Paul and I had a look at some questions earlier from, well, Paul mainly, from the literature. And so we've got some questions to ask, but mainly we're going to start off by having a bit of negative. Did anyone go to a meeting they didn't like, or did they go to a bad meeting, or was there any meetings that you never ever go back again no matter what, and then hopefully we'll move towards the end of the workshop with all the good stuff about meetings. Did you meet your future wife at the meeting? Did you come out of the meeting and buy a lottery ticket and find yourself cured or something like that? So just starting off, can we have say 3 hands up or 5 hands up, and we'll keep it to 2 minutes per person so we can keep it going, or even 1 minute's good. If you could let us know a meeting you went to that you didn't like. It doesn't have to be in your own area, and it can be any time in your recovery. Are you good with that, Paul?
Perfect. Yeah, and like Frankie said, we try to keep this moving, so it's not like a usual share back 4 minutes. 1.5 minutes is great for each person. Roderick, any bad experiences with meetings you'd like to share?
Yeah, hello, I'm Roderick. I'm an addict. I've been to like a gajillion meetings. I love the format idea. This is very, very. I love the space that we're in right now. This is great. Yeah, I think kind of a negative of meetings. It is something that's kind of a bummer about meetings in general. Is that my excitement, engagement, and interest in certain meetings, it just ebbs and flows. So sometimes I'm really excited and I come away from meetings and I'm feeling really rejuvenated and inspired, maybe to do some more step work or to call an addict or do something like that, feeling very energized. And other times I leave the meeting 20 minutes in because I just am not having a great time. I'm really bored. I've heard this shtick over and over again, and it can be grating, and that is just that just ebbs and flows, And so this is a thing that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I think for the newcomer, it's important to know that that's normal. That sometimes they're going to be home runs, and sometimes you're gonna just want to get the hell out of there as soon as you step into the room, and that's okay. Just keep coming back anyways, because it works. It still works, even though sometimes you don't stay for the whole meeting. I heard recently from old timer, 5 minutes in a meeting is better than no minutes in a meeting. So I try not to make it a habit, but I just can't fight the urge sometimes to just go do something else. But I put the effort out there, and I just let it ebb and flow as it does.
Thank you, Roderick. Great to hear from you. I don't think I've seen as many hands go up for any questions. I've been muted. Okay, Louis, please come in.
Can we limit it to another 4 and then we'll move on to the next question?
Yeah, so we'll take Louis, Barry, Joe, and the Jericho boys. I'd be really keen to hear as well. Leon's got his hand up. Louis, just please come in.
Okay, so my name is Louis. I'm an addict. I'm really grateful to be here. I love this format as well. Very good question. I think this is a question that should be asked more often. But to go straight into the, into the sauce, the worst meeting I've ever been to was a meeting where it was a supposed anniversary meeting, and the guy came in 4 minutes before the meeting started. He hadn't confirmed that he was about to share his experience. He came in with a friend. They took over the moderation, the chair, and he went on rumbling about a totally outside of NA topic, very political, very controversial in France. I guess it would be the equivalent of, addressing the legitimacy of Black Lives Matters in the US type of topic. And he went on and on and on and on. No timer was set. The service team was very slow, and the full team was not there. And I knew one servitor of this team, and she was so devastated. She ran after a newcomer who left crying from the meeting. That was a catastrophe, but in a nutshell, that was a concentrate of all the things that make a meeting not work. No structure, bad speaker, no attention paid to the newcomer, meeting about the disease or an outside issue that has nothing to do, that is not here to illustrate how the program works or how it can help. And that was the worst meeting I went to. But like I heard, sometimes you go to meetings and what is shared is not for you. And sometimes you go to meeting and it's just purely not an NA meeting. It says NA, but no one is actually doing it in a way. And it's okay. We're not supposed to be perfect. It's just sometimes a bit of a shame to me because life is at stake somehow. But anyway, so that was my experience. Thanks for listening.
Fantastic, Louis. Barry, please come in. I'm loving this workshop already.
Hi everyone, my name is Barry. I'm an addict. Thanks,
Barry.
Paul. Thanks, Frankie. Wasn't in this area and it was on Zoom. I've never actually been to an in-person meeting, but there was one meeting. It was a speaker meeting, a share back, and the main speaker only talked really about literature and steps and traditions from another fellowship, and it completely kind of threw off, I think, the atmosphere of recovery in the meeting. Us kind of being united by one common set of traditions and things like that. So that was a really uncomfortable meeting, and then you could tell by the share backs as well that other people found it the same. So that's my only real experience of a really poor meeting so far, but just complete no NA traditions, much the same vein as Louis was talking about there.
That's so cool. Is it still an NA meeting if it doesn't follow our traditions? Thanks, Barry. I've got your next question as well, Frankie. Joe, please come in.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an addict.
Joe.
So my worst experience in a meeting, I used to go to this meeting in Edinburgh on a Sunday morning, and it was a lovely wee meeting. It was fully all these old-time or long-termers, I should call them, and they would come in and share and then just go back to sleep, and it was such a gentle wee meeting. And then I was at the door for a few years, and then I thought I'll go back to that meeting. I really enjoyed that meeting. And by this time, the local treatment centre had been up and going for a few years, and all these young people had been through it. Nothing against young people. I thought myself still a person. And I've walked into the meeting still expecting it to be a bit the same. And oh my God, it was such a young crowd. And when they say, oh, NA doesn't judge, You know, we're addicts, we love to judge. You know, you might not feel judged, but that's the whole experience. Yeah. And halfway through this meeting, there was like a pool table in the room, and people were getting up for their seats and playing a game of pool. You know, and it was like chaos. You know, the chair and the chair, they weren't saying anything. I thought, it's just fucking horrendous. I had to get up, and it's the only meeting I've ever left. The clunking of pool balls was enough to put me off. So yeah, I had to leave that meeting. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Joe. And sorry about that, Leon. It should have been you next, but I missed you out by mistake. Please come in.
No, that's fine, Paul. Thank you. My name's Leon. Just very quickly, my first ever meeting, I was running amok over in Spain, living at my dad's, and he'd arranged for some guy to come and speak to me about drugs. And he took me to a meeting, and this guy told me that he smoked 4 ounces of heroin every single day when he was using. And knowing he was talking absolute bullshit, I judged the whole of fellowship on that for 20 years and never went back. So that was my worst experience, my first time ever.
Thanks, Leon. Can we just take the Jericho guys, Frankie, and then we'll move on to the next question? That sounds great. Jericho boys, please come in.
Thanks, Paul. I'm Sean. I'm an addict.
Hi, Sean.
It was last year sometime. It was another fellowship I was attending, and I was outside the meeting, and I was speaking to somebody that knew my pal, and I was just mentioning how my pal would help me and stuff. And this guy came out of the blue, and he started giving me it stinking about the yellow card and how what we hear here and what we see here in meetings and stuff. And it was probably a bit of validation in what he was saying, you know what I mean? But it was only saying how this guy had helped me. So the meeting was it's an electric share, and they basically pick people for the body of the whole, and you've no kind of clean time requirement or anything. And they picked the guy that had just had a full blown argument up to share, and he was going on about the yellow card and how I'm not scared of anybody, and if I hear you speaking about one of my pals, I'm no shy. I'll just I was sitting in the meeting, and I was holding my cup of coffee, and I was like, he better shut up, man. And do you know what? I avoided that meeting. For then, you know what I mean? It's supposed to be sharing your experience, strength, and hope. I didn't think they carry a very good message in that meeting, but I avoided that full area of the city. Do you know that? Just avoiding all the meetings are that way. But that was a horrendous experience for me. But I'll just leave it there. Cheers.
Thank you, Sean. Louis just made a really important point for anyone joining the meeting, that we're not having a slaughter fest against any meetings. People will be wondering what the hell they've joined here. But
that's good. The more puzzled people are, the better, Paul, I think, really. See, in our readings, in our cards, it says, and I didn't hear this for the first couple of years, those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean. It doesn't say those who do service or those who work the steps. It says those who keep coming to our meetings on a regular basis stay clean. So there's a kind of a heads up with that. Do you want to dish out the next question, Paul?
Yeah, there's a line in our literature. I think we sometimes use it in the preambles, but it says the greatest gift we can give the newcomer is the atmosphere of recovery that we create in our meetings. Actually, if you've got a word search, basic text, a PDF version, and put atmosphere in and search that, it also talks about an atmosphere of unconditional love, an atmosphere of mutual respect, an atmosphere of empathy, an atmosphere of not correcting anyone, and an atmosphere of not looking down on each other. So I just wondered, the next question, could we have 3 or 4 hands up to talk about what the atmosphere of recovery means to you, or what your experience of the atmosphere of recovery in an NA meeting looks like, please? Okay, Lukman, going to South Africa.
I'm an addict. My name is Lukman. Hi, family. For me, the atmosphere of recovery is a meeting where I feel like I'm a part of, you know, a meeting where I feel welcomed, where I do not have to feel alien. You know, I felt alien in active addiction, and the last thing I need is to feel alien in Narcotics Anonymous, and a meeting where I get solutions. You know, if I want to talk about the using or I want to talk about the problem, I know where to find a crack house. But I come to Narcotics Anonymous because I want solutions. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Lukeman. Lovely to see you tonight. Suzanne, please come in.
Hello, I'm Suzanne. I'm an addict. Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, atmosphere of recovery. It's the power in the room that's brought me back time and again. There's this, you know, like, it doesn't have to be all quiet, but there's just like a yeah, there's a power, you know, as people sitting together, or even on this, and like the other man said, you know, the kind of feeling welcomed and people talking recovery, you know, or you can identify, even if people are, you know, having a laugh, you can identify, you know, like when people are sharing and other people are laughing, and you know, you could just, but you feel the power, you just feel the power in the room, and that's what's brought me back time and again. So yeah, that's it for me.
Brilliant, Suzanne. Thank you so much. And Jericho again. Great, you guys are coming in and taking part.
Hi, Paul. My name is Conrad. I'm an addict.
Conrad.
So yes, what I can say, my experience was I was feel really good when in this place where I am now, in treatment center, when people give me warm welcome. So what I try to do today for other people, just show them a bit love, compassion, empathy. Just don't be judgmental. Don't give them order. Don't give all what I can give. Just my experience and some suggestion. But I'm not in the position actually to give them suggestions. So most of the time I'm just try to give my experience. And what else? Just be active listener. And just treat them like I would like to be treated. So that is my experience. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Conrad. Always lovely to hear you. And then we'll take two more. We've got Rab, Ryan, and Jason, and then Simon.
How are we doing? I'm Rab, I'm an addict.
Rab.
The atmosphere to me in recovery is having that safe place in it to go and share your thoughts and your feelings and your experience. It's a beautiful feeling. I think some meetings I've been to, just the fact that you're in a room full of strangers, 90% of the time you don't know half the people in the room, and they genuinely care for you. They genuinely want the best. They want to see you get well. Do you know what I mean? And they want to see you living a better and a clean life. Do you know what I mean? And you can't buy it. It's an amazing feeling. Do you know what I mean? So to me, that's the atmosphere that drew me back to the rooms. Do you know what I mean? Because when I was in addiction, for 20 odd years, and the only people that wanted me or cared about me was when they could get something from me. Do you know what I mean? There was always a hidden motive, or a fucking ulterior motive with everybody I associated with and everybody that I spoke to. Whereas since I've come into treatment and since I've started my journey on recovery, I've got genuine people who I can speak to and I can get sound advice from. Do you know what I mean? And it's changed my life. I'm loving my recovery at the minute. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for letting me share.
Rab, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. And Simon.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Simon. I'm an addict.
Simon.
Yeah, so for me, there is one thing that makes me come back at NA. The first time I went to the meeting was to see some people clean, actually, to see people get clean and enjoy their life clean. That was the one thing I've discovered, and that makes me want me to come back at meeting. I never see people success to be clean outside, and so when I went to meeting and see these people having their life, managing their life, and be clean, then I know that that was the solution for me. So I need to come back here to save my ass. So this is it. Thank you.
Lovely, Simon. Thank you for sharing.
So we up for the next question?
I think so.
Think so, yeah. Let's keep it on a bit of the negative. Has anyone experienced that they don't need meetings and stop coming? Because I know I have. I've gone through a stage of thinking, fuck this, fuck you lot. I've had enough. I don't need meetings anymore. I've been around enough time. I don't need meetings. What do I need meetings for? Has anyone experienced that? Because I found that's quite common.
Fantastic, Frankie. Okay, Abby, please come in on this one. We've got Abby, Martin, Marie Claire, and Louis D. If you take a couple of minutes each, that'd be great.
Yeah, I definitely experienced that. And it was hard. Like the first 2 years of my recovery, I just focused on my mental health and did not go to meetings. My second year, my second to my third, I did go to meetings, but really had a hard time with feeling part of. I've been in recovery since 2003. I've been in meetings since 2003. I don't have 2003 clean time. I've had years clean. I've had 5. I've had 2. I've had a year and a half. I've had multiple times of recovery, but I've gone to places where it felt like I had a very long relationship with people and was backstabbed and hurt by the people, not by the program. The program never failed. The people did. And I held too much accountable to high expectations on people instead of high expectations on the program. So I felt hurt and experienced emotions that I don't need meetings. I don't need to be here. It's going to hurt me more to be here because by the people than the program. I could live myself and I could be abstinent and be clean on my own. I don't need it. I'm well off without it. I'm doing great by myself. I'm doing great with therapy. I'm doing great with my medicine, I'm doing great with my psychiatrist. I'm doing great. I don't need it. And then lo and behold, I realized that if I keep going further without meetings, I'm going to suffer. And I'm going to end up relapsing.
Thank you,
So
Abby.
meetings is the only place that I need. Meetings, and with all that I get from the outside help. There's a story in the 6th edition called The Serene Heart on page 254. It's not the mental thing that I battle, but it's about someone that battles mental health and that takes medication, that does the steps and lives the program. And it's about having that foundation of a balance in life that realizes that with outside help and the program and some good people, when you find good people that really have your back and really love you and you find a safe place, it works.
Okay, Abby, great stuff. Thank you for sharing. Brilliant. Can I just read out? This is quite good, actually. Sasha's just sent a comment in the chat. So if you do have any comments that you want to send to me or one of the co-hosts, please do. Sasha says the worst meetings locally for me are those run by cliques of friends, and any principles go out the window. Also servants of meetings with agendas that aren't any recovery focused. So it's funny, it tells us to keep our meetings newcomer focused, doesn't it? Thanks for that comment, Sasha. Martin, please come in.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I'm Martin, I'm an addict. I'll keep it quick and negative. Before the first time I came into the fellowship, I found a sponsor and I promised him I would do 90 meetings in 90 days. And I was lying. I did about, honestly, I must have done about 40. And I relapsed. There you go.
So you're saying there lies a tale in that, doesn't there? Thanks for that. Marie Claire, please share.
Thanks, Paul. I didn't easily know. I've got my hand up there. I like that what you're saying in the comments and stuff. And I was just thinking about what I wanted to say. I was doing meetings so much. I had everything back in my life. Everything was going grand. And, you know, everything that kind of has been mentioned, I'm I thought that I could manage without them, and I slowly drifted away from them. And when I didn't come to meetings, I'm using. Eventually, that's the outcome for me. It's been a hard lesson for me to learn. So I dread to think, what's going to happen if I just stay away. And what my head managed to convince me that, I'm all right, just with the previous speakers have said, the ultimate, the reality of no attending meetings is I will pick up eventually, and that's what's happened, and it's been the worst. I keep feeling like I'm just stuck on repeat here, but it's been the worst few years of my life. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Any's managed well without me. I just haven't managed too well without hits. So I'm just grateful. I just want to see what this is about tonight. I think it's the first one I've even came to. So I'm going to try and listen and think that I know everything. So I'm grateful to be here, guys. I'll just keep coming back. Cheers.
Thank you, Marie.
Thanks, Marie-Claire, and we're grateful to have you. Did you want to come in at this point, Frankie, or are we going to take Kathy and Richard?
No, Kathy and Richard, please.
Kathy, please come in.
Hey guys, I'm Kathy. I'm an addict. I love you all. There have been different times in my recovery over the years where, a lot of different things happened. I have an ex-husband that we were together for 20 years, and at about between 15 and 16 years, I found out he'd been having an affair, and all of our friends in the program knew about it. And, to say the least, that was really painful. And I wasn't angry at any of them. Like, what do you say in such a situation, right? But that was a situation where it became so uncomfortable. It was just painful. And I drifted off, and I didn't go to a meeting for, I think, 3 weeks, and it kicked my ass, so I tried that theory. And then there were times where when I had a sick little kid, I was raising grandkids before the pandemic started, and 2 of them are disabled. So I was getting to a meeting every 2 or 3 weeks, and it was miserable. And there have been times when it seemed like handling life's responsibilities was the way that I needed to live the spiritual principles of the steps and even the traditions, that I had things that I was supposed to do that didn't give me time to be in service or be at meetings. And every time in my recovery that I try that, I get my ass kicked. It just doesn't work. There's the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. And I have a sponsor that was around when the first basic text was written. Marlene, she's got a million years. But anyway, I get to talk to a handful of folks who were there when, they weren't around when the little white booklet was written, but they were there when the basic text was written. And I interrogate them about, what does this mean, right? What did you mean? And, they keep reminding me things of especially now, after we were all still going to daily meetings, the big group of us who are all still here, that our steps and the principles in our literature talks about carrying the message to the addict who still suffers, not necessarily somebody who hasn't found NA before or somebody who's relapsed. We all go through different kinds of suffering and confusion in life. And the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is the only get well that works for me, no matter how painful or strange it's been at different times, or service disagreements, or all of those different things that could crop up. Nothing works the way that this does. So I need you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Suzanne put a message in the chat saying that she had 10 years clean and she stopped going to meetings. It took 2 years, but 2 years without meeting, she eventually used. Thanks for sharing that with us, Suzanne. It's great that you're back with us. Richard, please come in.
Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm an addict.
Richard.
Good to see you, Paul. My experience, I started picking up resentments in meetings for various reasons. There were people having relationships and cross-sharing in meetings, and it became like some kind of soap opera, the fellowship where I'm from, and I don't know if anybody's ever been in the same situation, but I was trying to keep meetings going, or this particular meeting going, and I was juggling all the service positions, and then I was going to other meetings in the same area and listening to people go, oh yeah, NA this, NA that, and I'm thinking, well, I'm stuck at a meeting on a Thursday night and none of you guys are there to kind of support me. I kind of just picked up resentments, and subsequently, yeah, I stopped going to meetings, and I did relapse after 2 years. So yeah, was it me or was it them? Who knows? I'll leave it there.
Thanks for that. That's great. We're going to move on to the next question, which is all along the same thing. Now, I beat my chest and I got a big ego because in 2003, after being around for 10 years, I knew exactly what to do. So I started doing a 90 and 90, but I'm an addict. It wasn't straightforward. I live in London. It's not straightforward. So instead of a 90 and 90, I ended up doing 280 and 90 because that's possible. Now, some people live in some regions. I now live in the West Country, and where I live in Bath, it's impossible to do a 90 and 90. There's only 4 meetings a week, 4 NA meetings. And you see the same ugly people every meeting. You know, you can't go to another area and see nice, beautiful people. You're stuck with the same ones. So is 90 meetings in 90 days a good idea? Is there any thought? Try and keep it positive, if possible, but just experience, please.
Yeah, and maybe we can add to that now we're on this platform. You know, I think I did 350.
Good idea.
I did 350 meetings in my first 90 days, not to brag or anything, but I just got so obsessed and I was so done with it, using drugs, that is. So yeah, if you want to incorporate the this new wonderful tool we have at our disposal, please do. Okay, Joe.
Hi, I'm Jo, I'm an addict.
Joe.
So where I live, very small area, and we only have 8 meetings a week, but some of them are 2 on each day. So there's only like 5 days we have a meeting. So there's other 2 days of no meetings at all. But because I couldn't sit with myself, you know, I just couldn't sit with Joe when I first came out of treatment. And I'm 25 miles east Edinburgh and 30 miles west Glasgow. So to answer your question, yes, it is possible, even if you're in a small area, because I would just jump on the train and it didn't matter if I was at the house from 9 in the morning to 11 at night. It just did not matter because I couldn't sit with myself anyway. You know, to sit in my own head and to sit with that obsession to use, I just didn't feel safe. So it was better for me just to stay out, stay around the meetings. And I was a wee bit like yourselves. I did like, I'm on my 3rd 90 and 90. I've never stopped doing a 90 and 90. I'm a wee bit better at sitting with Joe. But I think my first 90 and 90, I did 180 and 90. I had to be in meetings all the time. And I think if you're just, like Paul said, if you've just had enough and you're that desperate, you'll find a meeting. Simple as that. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Paul, just to pop in there, where I came from in London, we call it coffee shop recovery. You go to coffee shop and then to the meeting. There's quite a lot of the focus around meetings on Zoom when it first started. I remember when the 24/7 meeting started, people just left it switched on.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
do 2 months on a meeting. So
No.
God, sorry, I needed to
No,
get
for
that
sure.
out.
When I was detoxing, I just had it on in my headphones, like all through while I was rattling through the night. It was, and you'd fall asleep and wake up, and someone else would be talking hours down the line. Brilliant. Martin, please come in.
Cheers, Paul. Yeah, very similar. I'm up in the Highlands. There's probably more fucking sheep than there is people up here, you know. So yeah, there's only like 3 meetings a week. So when I was told that I'd do 90 and 90, obviously they're all online. And I don't know, I felt, when I look back, I feel like I was under a bit of pressure or something. I don't know what it was, but obviously I'm an addict. So like I found a loophole in that. And I'm like, well, you know, I can lie then. I can lie my way fucking through it, you know. This time, my sponsor hasn't even mentioned doing that. All he said is nobody's ever died from doing too many meetings. People have died from doing no meetings, basically, you know. But But I'm on what, 77 days, and I must have done about 100 meetings already. That's without anyone, you know, suggesting it, because I kind of know. So that's my take on it anyway. Cheers.
Fantastic, Martin. Well done on the clean time. That's brilliant to hear. Louis.
Yeah, my name is Louis. I'm an addict. Great question, actually. And that's a question I had to ask myself recently about a sponsorship relationship, because I have in my sponsorship family, one of my sponsees is an educated sponsee, and he was still managing to go through his academic parkour. And when he started coming to meetings regularly, he was about to go through a very big, very important control test that would determine his future. And he didn't have a sponsor at that time, and he came to me because, you know, he discovered NA through me, and he was trying to look for a sponsor, because I told him, look, you know, go to meetings, discover new sponsors. And he went to meetings, loved some, didn't really like some, and after a while he came back to me and said, I asked someone to sponsor me, and this guy told him bluntly, you need to do 90 and 90. But the guy had a lot of work to do, so he needed to study. And I talked about it with my sponsor. My sponsor told me, you know, maybe if he asked you in the first place and then came back to this guy because you said, you know, we're friends and I can't really sponsor you, maybe it was not a coincidence. So I came back to him and said, maybe I can guide you through recovery, the NA way to recover at the beginning. I understand, because I'm in the same situation as you, that you cannot do 90 and 90, but I would like you to go to a meeting regularly, to choose one meeting a week and not miss that meeting, and then call me on a daily basis, read some literature. And the guy went for it, and it worked for him. My experience is I started my recovery doing 2, 3, 4 meetings a day because it was available. I did coffee shop recovery, and somehow it was not always increasing the quality of my understanding, but it was increasing the quantity of time that I was spending with recovering, or at least, you know, non-using addicts, and that saved my ass. So if I should, my experience is that 90 and 90 will probably not for everyone increase your understanding of the program, but at least it might keep you clean for 90 days, which is a huge achievement when you used to use, you know, several times a day, no matter what. So that's my experience. Thanks.
Nice point, Louis. Thanks for raising that. Suzanne, and then we've got Barry and James, and then we'll take the next one.
Oh, sorry, I'll just quickly. Yeah, years ago, I mean, you do any meeting, you do loads of meetings, you'd run around with the treatment lot, and you'd sit in NA and AA. I'd draw the line at CA, but you know, just constantly sit in meetings. But just, I mean, recently, I mean, at the moment, I basically live on that online 24, and I've been in hospital twice recently. I'm 62 days back. I relapsed a couple of times, or used again, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, because I don't know if I had, but, you know, abscess in my groin. Had the meeting on all the time I was in hospital with like open foot-long wound where they had to leave it open. I was on the meeting. Then I came out, I relapsed, used again in the same fucking place, and ended up back in the same hospital, same ward. It was, and yeah, it's like my rehab. I'm kind of on the meeting constantly, just constantly. I don't bother with my local fellowship, really. There's loads of meetings here in Brighton now, but I don't bother with the fellowship. And I'm branching out. It's like I'm now starting to branch out a bit. I mean, I'm disabled now, I can't walk. You know, go to the basic text meeting, I'll come here, I'll go, there's a Bermondsey online one, you know, and that's where I grew up. So, you know, and that's a literature meeting. So I'm just kind of branching out, because the online 24, although it's great, it's starting to do my head in a little bit. And, you know, it is. And the worst thing I seen on a meeting was last night. There was a girl standing there with fucking 2 mil in her mouth. You know, I screenshot it. It's like, I don't want to be seeing stuff like that. I really don't want to be seeing stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm kind of, I don't know, fine tuning my recovery a little bit, you know, if that makes any sense, you know, just looking for quality rather than quantity. But yeah, anyway, I don't know if that's, I'm sorry for.
No, that's great, Suzanne. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, Barry.
Hi everyone, Barry. I'm an addict. Yeah, like most people were saying, I did, I think, about 140 in 90, but I got clean in early July, so all of my meetings have been in Zoom. And there's a couple of reasons I'm thankful for that. One, I think I'm more comfortable in coming to Zoom. I'm just more used to it. I used to teach on Zoom, so on and so forth. Don't know how I'd be with a physical meeting until I lock it, until I try it, of course, but that comfort and also the connections that have been able to be made, you know, a lot of my daily connections in London, America. So much respect for people before Zoom who did 1990, had to travel about to do it, but I'm very grateful I've came in at a point where it is this digital fellowship as well, and there's opportunity to go to meetings, still go to meetings, you know, every day, pretty much. And you know, very grateful to have the variety of choice of areas across the world, and just what you were saying, Frankie, about meeting people beyond your own geography. But what the 90 or 140/90 allowed me to do is, as a newcomer like us all, is just let it wash over me. Bits I didn't understand or agree with or get, you know, just manage to listen in and hear other people's perspectives, and just allow that, almost that brainwashing that you kind of need, away from active addiction into this program. So 100% think it was an amazing thing to do.
Brilliant, Barry. It was Frankie that taught me about brainwashing, wasn't it, Frankie? James, please come in.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks to the other members. Great format as usual. Yeah, back in the beginning, 2004, when I was insane and nuts, and I took that suggestion on 1990, and I just thought my head was going to explode because I was still thawing out, and I was told to listen because I chewed someone's ear one night, told him my life story in 10 minutes, and he says, it's, you know, listen, you know. So I listened, and people were coming in, dumping all sorts of stuff, you know, my boyfriend's a CUNT, my girlfriend's a CUNT, reading the concepts on the wall, the traditions, the steps. I just thought my head was going to explode. And Barry beat me to it there. Maybe it is a sort of slight form of brainwashing, and if anyone's brain needed washing, it was mine at the time. So it's probably not a bad thing. I just thought, but at the time I thought, what are they doing to me? You know, it's like, you know, just. But eventually you fall out and things start to make sense. What Frankie says about London, we're spoiled, you know. I feel sorry for those guys up there, one meeting a week back in the day. You think, you know, that's where you really need the phone numbers to connect and all that. But and obviously this beautiful platform that all yous guys have, you know, during lockdown, there was nothing else to do, so it was a godsend, especially living with a family under a 2-bedroom flat, trying, you know, just about, you know, not killing each other, you know. But yeah, definitely spoiled in London. Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
James. Thanks, James. Paul, I just wanted to say that when we took the workshop to the London Convention, and of course people could look at this one of the weird things which is really nice after the workshop was people came up to us who we'd never met in person and only met online here at the Clean and Serene in Aberdeen. Down in London, people came up to us and saying, hey, how you doing? And, you know, there are different sizes to what you see them on the little square. I don't know, there's, you know, it was great, but it was really lovely because you get to hug and meet people from all over the place. You know, even some of the Americans had come over, which was kind of crazy. And they wasn't all big either, you know? So, yeah. So what was the next question, Paul? Can you remember?
Well,
yeah, I've got it. Does anyone remember anything poignant from their first meeting? Because I haven't got a clue.
Ooh,
I can't remember anything from our first meeting.
Louis.
Come on, Louis. I knew Louis would.
And Donna, feel free to stick your hand up again. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna be short. I have the feeling I'm speaking too much, but I vividly remember my first meeting. I judged everyone for an hour and a half and then relapsed for a year and a half. But I remember this blonde lady who came in and cried her heart out because her man was cheating on her and she was seeing herself relapse, and that was really heartbreaking, but it stuck to me. And I remember as well another lady coming after the meeting and telling me to come back and giving me her number that I didn't use again, but you know, that stuck to me. The very first meeting I did a year and a half before I actually stopped using. And so yeah, that's my vivid memory of my first meeting.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Louis.
A guy came up to me with a basic text and said, it's cheaper than a bag and it might save your life. I remember that. Roderick, please come in.
Roderick, I'm an addict. So yes, my first meeting, I remember I was kind of court mandated to go. And I was sort of lukewarm about the whole thing. But I remember, you know, I sat in the corner, I'm listening, I'm taking it all in. And I was like kind of hungover. You know, I had like stayed up for a really long time and I felt like barely a person, just all crusty and dry. And I remember I wanted to share for some reason, because I have a huge ego. You know, it's like my first meeting ever. It's like a new situation. I'm like, I'll put my 2 cents in, guys. And I remember I said, I'm Roderick, I'm an addict. And when I said I'm Roderick, I'm an addict, it clicked. Like this sort of warmth, this sort of like self-knowledge washed over me. Like, oh, that's your problem. You're not dumb. You're not, you know, you're not useless. You're an addict. And that was a huge moment for me. And I continued to relapse for years after that. But I never, ever, I was an addict from that point on. I was a self-realized addict from that point on. And it ruined my using, you know, from that point on as well, which is, I think, is an important thing to do. So that's it.
Thank you, Roderick. Hang on, let me just check. James, please come in.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I was a compulsive liar. My whole life was a sham. And I turned up at my first meeting and I bottled it. I told the guy that it was a pal of mine who was in trouble and he gave me some information pamphlets. I read them in the car and phoned my cousin and gave it the spiel. That was on the Thursday at some cockroach-ridden meeting that's now flats in Bow. And eventually made it to my first meeting at Homerton Hospital, and that's where I chewed that guy's ears off for 10 minutes, and the meeting was about to start. And he squeezed my arm and says, the meeting's about to start. And I got that, you know, addicts think, you know, we think different from, we think for, you know, that squeezing the arm, I interpreted as shut up and listen, you know what I mean? And that's what I did. But yeah, so glad to have made it here and still here.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, Paul. It's James, great to hear you. Abby, and then Lee.
I remember it specifically. My mother and my aunt brought me. They said we went to this little hole in the wall in a church, and there was a women's meeting going on. So it was all men. And before I said I was an addict, my aunt and my mother pointed to me and said, "She's an addict. She needs to be here." I was scared. It's the first meeting that I realized I was an addict, and that's that. It was very scary, and I was so intimidated because it was all men. But they embraced me and directed me to the women's meeting that was on that day. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Lee, please come in.
Lee.
Yeah, even folks, Lee, addict. Yeah, I remember my first meeting in Leeds, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because You know, I didn't know I was an addict, and you know, someone and also someone shared such a harrowing story, and it brought me to tears. I can't remember what was said, but I can just remember how I felt. You know what I mean? It was a bit of a blur in that respect, but I remember how I felt, and I felt a relief. And I had like some sort of weird experience. I felt like a presence around me, and that carried on actually when I left the meeting as well. And from that point, I just kept coming back. I thought, oh, this is the place for me. This is home. It just felt like home. But yeah, it was absolutely incredible, absolutely incredible. And I did say, I didn't put my hand up. I said, yeah, my name's Lee. I'm an addict. You know, like that. And I didn't even realize at the time that I was an addict. You know what I mean? It just came out. I was like, blip, like that. And it was fucking amazing. And yeah.
Thanks, Lee. Brilliant. And Donna.
Hi everyone, I'm Donna. I'm an addict. Yeah, I remember going to my first face-to-face meeting and picking up a 30-day keyring. And I was out my nut and Valium, but because I wasn't on my drugs of choice, I thought I was cured and I was all right. So yeah, to go back to that meeting and pick up my white keyring, but it felt good going back and being honest kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of cringy for me, but I'm glad I went back and picked up the white keyring. So yeah.
Thanks, Donna, for sharing.
Thanks, Donna. You guys have made me remember, it wasn't my first meeting, but it was definitely within the first month or so. I was 32 years old. I thought I was Charlie Big Potatoes, and I was still selling little bags on me. So I thought I was, you know, had control. And I went to this meeting in London at the Angel Islington on a Wednesday. And there were two ladies in there who must have been in their 60s doing the tea. And I was fucking terrified. I'm 32 years old thinking I'm Charlie Big Potatoes. And these two ladies were just saying, do you want a cup of tea? And I don't know where they are today, but yeah, I couldn't even reply. All I could do was look tough. Yeah, or think I looked tough. Yeah, so next question, Paul, is about questions.
Yeah, I feel like kind of we're moving into the last 20, 25 minutes. There's a couple of questions here which I think are really cool. I'd love to hear about in what way people think that meetings strengthen the recovery. And you've also got a question in here about formats. You know, just for me right now, sometimes if you're doing service in a meeting week in, week out, it can feel a bit labor intensive if you're at the service team end, right? But what I'm loving about tonight's format is that this feels really the true spirit of any, that everyone's involved, everyone's sharing, everyone's taking their part. I think something around strengthening recovery and which way meetings do it, and then maybe we could talk about formats and people's preferences, that kind of thing. What do you think, Frankie?
Yeah, I think it's good, and we haven't forgotten about Nikolai or Kieran, you know, and Simon can come back in as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So anyone that hasn't shared, feel free to input. So shall we ask the question?
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure, of course. But in what ways do any meetings, we could maybe even extend that to an any home group, because that's a meeting, might be going a bit off topic, but I think home groups are vital. In which way do they strengthen your recovery? James, please come in.
For me, it's just, especially when you get a couple of years clean, it just the newcomer that helps me, because I see myself in him and how I hear what he's got to say, which is still out there, which, you know, just seems to get worse and worse as time goes on. So it's just a reminder of what got me here in the first place, and yeah, and learning from that, from everyone really, and just that top up thing where just topping up your recovery in case the shit hits the fan and you're able to deal with it, you know. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Lee?
It's okay to come back in, is it?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
As many times.
Just
as
move a bit closer to the microphone, Lee, because you sound like you're in a tunnel.
How's that? Is that all right?
Yes.
Right, lovely.
Brilliant.
For me, it's like you know, the brotherhood that I found, and you know, the fellowship that I found in people, and that really strengthened bonds, and also like coming up together. You know, like getting days clean together. You know, it was because I attended like what's sort of considered as a newcomers meeting, and you know, we got clean together, and there's some you know, brothers in that fellowship that we're like that. You know what I mean? We call each other all the time, and those bonds are extremely strong. You know, I also do a bit of service as well. You know, and like, you know, I thought I felt connected to NA by just doing meetings. It wasn't until I started giving away what was freely given to me through service and sharing and stuff like that, that the connections that I made were just absolutely massive. And that's helped me in my recovery anyway.
Thank you, Lee. Rab or Ryan or Jason? Is it you again, Rab?
It's me again, mate. I'm Rob, I'm an addict. I think that I get strength in the rooms for exposing my stinking thinking. Do you know what I mean? When I've got funky thinking or I'm struggling, and I go to a meeting and share about it, it takes the power away from it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if I'm on my own and I'm isolating and I'm keeping it to myself, it's just feeding my disease, innit? Do you know what I mean? It's giving my disease a power over me. Obviously, that's why we become powerless, innit? But for me, it's definitely being able to share and carrying a message as well. I got a lot for if I give a newcomer or give somebody else in the room, if somebody can get something from my share, I get a lot from that. Do you know what I mean? It gives me a bit more strength in my recovery to carry on, and it gives me that boost to move forward. Do you know what I mean? So thank you for letting me share with you.
Thank you so much. Great to hear from you. Louis.
Yeah, my name's Louis. I'm an addict. So to answer the question, for me, going to an NA meeting or having a home group really leads me to switch my interaction with a group from coming to get as much as I can, which is what I was doing with my buddies when I was using, to coming to, you know, be fed by the group and give as much as I can, make space for others to shine somehow. And of course, I love to go to different meetings because it allows me to meet strong spirits, like people. I remember one of the guys who shared in the speaker jam here, and he made this brilliant experience about his higher power, and I felt part of his higher power the way he described it. I was thinking like, that's true in a way, we're connected. And this was because I went to a meeting. You know, I have the feeling I met some of the most spiritual person in my experience, in my small experience on earth, in NA meetings. I also met some tricky person in NA meetings, but you know, that really helps me continue. It fuels my recovery. Thanks.
Sorry, Louis, I didn't realize I was unmuted there, laughing at that. Great, thank you for sharing. And Jericho. See that. Hi, Conrad.
Hi, my name is Conrad. I'm an addict. Just very quick, what I want to say. When I came to treatment center, it was 10 months ago. Actually, I didn't know anything about NA. I was feeling like I was very useless, worthless, and hopeless person. And came here, people told me about this program. But even this, I honestly, I thought I'm too stupid to get this, too stupid to understand this, because my language is not good enough. It was only in my head. So what I've got, because there was COVID rules, so we had only Zoom meetings. And what I get from these Zoom meetings, the hope. People really gave me hope. I was judging people, but when I listened to some share and they've told me about a few years clean time, some of them, I thinking was they are worse than me. So if they can do this, I can do this as well. Even today, when I'm listening to them about them they saying about a few years clean time, about traveling on the world, about great job. So still, I have so much hope. And when I see newcomers, then I can remind myself where I was 10 months ago, and I'm so grateful where I am today. And other things, when I'm listening some share, then I can identify with them and remind myself my story, because when I'm doing my step works, sometimes I just kind of see my past experience, but when I'm listening to the share, then I can say, oh, I've been there, done this. So it is like both way. So that's it. But the first thing what I get from the Zoom meeting, it was hope. It was hope for me. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. The next one I was going to pull up, Paul, was most favourite thing about meetings. When I was 3 years clean, I was complaining, it shows what it's like, complaining about the quality of meetings in London when we had 200 a week. So my sponsor said to me, why don't you start a meeting? So I got together with 2 other people and started a meeting on a Sunday morning. It was a step meeting, and it was a good idea because each week we read a step out and somebody shared on it. Really loved it. But the best thing I liked about the meeting was, before it opened up, we used to do croissants and coffee. Seriously, the meeting became a big meeting because everyone used to come and get the croissants and have the coffee. And I suggested it to somebody in Croatia, and they did a similar thing, and they said, Frankie, this was a guy called Sasha in Croatia, he said, Frankie, people come to the meeting, it's fantastic, the meeting's really grown. He said, but when we have the break, everybody leaves. I'm like, what? So you got to buy more coffee and more croissants.
Do them at the end.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that. That's my favourite thing about meetings. So please, could we have 5, 6, 7 people share the most favourite things about meetings, what they like, what they attend, even if it's like with me, my old home group, the Girls from Pineapple Dance used to come along, you know, whatever.
Or, yeah, a living example of a time where you've left a meeting and thought that was the most incredibly mind-blowing experience. What was it about it that really kind of gave you that?
Or if you met your soulmate.
Yeah. Okay, Jericho.
Thanks, Paul. I'm John. I'm an addict.
Hi, John.
There's a number of things that are probably my favourite part of attending a meeting. I think, especially going to meetings early days and feeling so broken, see even just a hug after somebody in a meeting and saying good to see you, been suffering for chronic low self-esteem, thinking that you're a no use, you amount to nothing, and somebody comes in, remembers your name, gives you a cuddle and says it's great to see you. And one of the biggest things as well, but for me, is see when somebody's sharing an experience, and it's something like near enough identical for maybe an event in their life that had so much power over them, and it doesn't hold the same power that it once had, and it's like stuff that I thought defined me as an individual. Very similar experiences that I've heard, and they talk about it with a freedom that made it attractive to me and stood out and said to me that I wasn't alone in what I thought about myself, and seeing somebody else like sharing that, because there's stuff in that as well I do believe. The new where I'm at anyway is for a one-to-one with a sponsor, or maybe not a setting where there's so many people in a room, but I see people sharing such stuff and seeing them holding no power of them whatsoever. That's attractive to me, do you know what I mean? And going to meetings as well. See the laughter, see you get into a room as well when it's full of laughter, when you've came through such misery and that, it's like, that's what's attractive to me about Narcotics Anonymous. But I'll just leave it there. Thanks for the meeting, Paul.
Amazing, John. Potent. Okay, keep your hand up there, Kieran. We'll get to your Rab. Please come in.
How you doing, Rab Addict? Probably my favourite thing about meetings is seeing the growth in other people. Like when you see people coming in at their first meeting and they're broken, they've got no confidence, do you know what I mean? You can feel the misery coming off them, and then you see them as time goes on and the weeks go by and the more meetings they come to, you see like they start getting a bit of shine back in the eyes and a bit of spring in their step, do you know what I mean? And that's probably one of the biggest things that I found attractive to it, because at my first meeting, I went to a meeting at 10:15 in the morning, and I'd already drank a litre of vodka by that time. I turned up at a meeting. I'd never heard of any, I'd never heard of recovery or nothing. I turned up at a meeting, and I see people there that were at that meeting, and they've seen the growth in me, do you know what I mean? And it's just that, I don't know, I think it's just a special thing, do you know what I mean, to see people getting better and getting well. So cheers, I'll leave it there, mate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rab. Great to hear you. Barry. Oh, by the way, Joe's just put in the chat the cards. Loves the cards, the readings at the beginning. Thanks for that. Barry.
Hi, sorry about the camera, just my internet lagging, but give you a practical example from right now. I've been really ill the past few days, illest I've been in recovery, and thankfully, thanks to the program, I haven't had any cravings to use it, and I've been really down, and I wasn't going to come tonight. I missed home group on Saturday, haven't been able to connect. It's knocked off my routine that's been serving me well these past few months, and now just coming to this meeting with how good it's been. The sort of power, energy, positivity, laughter, already mentally feeling better about things. So there's an example of why I come to meetings from just now.
Yeah, maybe your next thesis could be on how that works. That would be great, Barry, to know what the secret was there, why it can any meeting can make you feel so incredible when you're feeling not great. Thanks, Barry. Lee?
Yeah, I just second what Barry says. I mean, it's just that that transformation, like it's like alchemy, turning lead into gold, and people come into the meetings and they're racked with guilt and shame and twisted up with anxiety, that twisting, crushing feeling, and you can just see it, because I was like that, and and finally, like, the peace and the calm washes over, and freedom from active addiction, and the freedom from the desire to use, that obsession, and just is lifted from people. And it's a beautiful thing to see, and I see it all the time. And it's, that's my favourite part of the meetings. Thank you.
Cheers, thanks for that, Lee. James saying in the chat, a comfy chair and some heating. I remember there was a meeting up north here and everyone would fight over the 3 comfy chairs that were, I forgot about that. Thanks, James. Suzanne?
And I think that's not a bad advert, Paul. I think that's not a bad advert James has just given us. If your heating bills have gone up, come to face-to-face.
Yeah, they're doing those warm banks, aren't they, where people can go and get a heat. That's
there's no better heat than being in an NA meeting with
I've
someone.
been in loads of
raging.
meetings where they've turned the heating off and you can't, no one can turn it on, and you're sat there freezing, and then someone will forget the milk.
Go on, Suzanne.
No, but
keep going, Suzanne. Go on.
Yeah, I'm Suzanne. I'm an addict. But just this format, it's like, there's all different clean times here, and the boys in the treatment centre, I'm in my house with my dog, my leg up, and and it's just, it feels alive, and it's it's recovery, and people are it's just really good. I feel very connected to this kind of format. So thank you. It's it's brilliant. It's really good, really good. So that's and the basic text one, and it's just, yeah, it's kind of no fluff, just pure recovery.
Beautiful, Suzanne. We're in the fort just now. Thank you. Marie Claire, please come back in.
Thanks, Paul. My name is Marie Claire and I'm an addict. I just, I'm sitting thinking about what's the best thing. I think everybody's kind of says it. Like last week I went to a live meeting and, I was breaking my heart in it and I wanted to die and all the rest of it. And, it's like, I don't know, it's like somebody just says it, the fear and the horrible way I was feeling about myself. The truth was, like, I'd be getting a bit later because they were cuddling, I just felt so broken, and I'm not going to say I felt hunky-dory and everything's been a bed of roses since I've went, but my life's a hell of a fucking lot better when I'm sitting in a meeting. There's some sort of, I don't know, it gives me, it's like it's filling my spirit. It's just what like the guys in the treatment centre says, they're like, it's like it's slowly filling that impossible void that I could never fill before I got here, and like I can just slowly feel a shift. Fuck knows what kind of shift, but it's better than how I was feeling. I certainly feel a wee bit better about myself, and I just think it's the best bunch of people I've ever met. people just they want to see you getting on, and I know everybody's like that, but it's like, I don't know, there's just a certain kind of calmness I feel like I can get something for any that I can't get anywhere else. Can't buy this shit, man. So that's my input in it.
Lovely, Mary Claire. Keep coming back. It's great to have you here. Kieran, please share for us.
Hi, I'm Kieran. I'm an addict.
Kieran.
Favourite part of the meeting, my favourite part of the meeting's got to be the key rings. Like, ever since I picked up my first key ring, I just wanted to keep going until I've got the one. I still do. I've not picked up my 60 days and I can't wait to get my 90. But just seeing anybody picking up Queen Time's a total brilliant. It's a brilliant buzz, brilliant atmosphere in the room, and that, especially the white key ring. Proud of anybody that can come into the room and pick up the white key ring, like, because it's a big thing to do that. It's just brilliant to see. I'd say the key rings are my favourite part of the meetings by far. Cheers.
Thank you, Kieran, for sharing that. Brilliant. Notice nobody said the main speaker yet, or the lead speaker. There must be something in that, eh? We're getting rid of the hierarchy. Right, go on, Louis.
Yeah, I'm Louis. I'm an addict. Yeah, the first thing I wanted to say is also the clean time countdown. I really like when there is an effort put into making it a happy situation and not just 10 years, bravo, 5 years, bravo, but really something enthusiastic. That's really something I like. And I wanted to say a story because you mentioned, finding a loved one. And, I'm going to cut the story short, but I met my now wife in a meeting. First time we met, I was the greeter in Berlin, where I moved because I was freed from addiction after being in meetings in Paris, where I first started my recovery. I moved to Berlin after a while, doing back and forth. And first thing I checked before moving to Berlin was there are meetings available there. I moved there, took a service position because I was told, it's a good thing to keep a service when you move. Got my service when I was there on time, and I met her that night. She was not my kind. She was not the woman she is today. She was, developing to be the woman she is now, and I deeply love. But we met because I was on time and doing my service without any intention to, get her number or something like this. And during the meeting, she shares she's in Berlin for 2 days. She's from the US. She's in Berlin for 2 days to perform in a concert. She's been invited by some old folks. The concert is in the street where I live. This is a sign from a higher power. And I said, cool, I'm going to bring some friends. I go to the concert and I don't like the music. She's the set between two weird experimental music. It's horrible. And at the first pause, I go to her and I'm bluntly honest and I say, look, I'm sorry, I really don't like the music, but when you finish, I go in a bar next door and I come back when you finish so we can hang out. She is shocked by this amount of fresh, brutal honesty, and she leaves Berlin, but she gives me one of her CDs and her number. And her name is Audrey. She's at the beginning of my repertoire in my numbers. And 9 months after, I call her, and she's about to get a scholarship to go study in Berlin. And she's hesitating to go maybe in another city. And the very fact that I call her just to say, hey, how are you? She saw this as a sign of a higher power to tell her, look, the community is living in Berlin. Go there, your recovery can survive. And then we became good friends. To cut the story short, we're now married. And I go to the US a few years ago to accompany her. It was my first trip in the US. I was like, looking, everything is big. And we go to this meeting where she started her recovery, where she was taken care of by the fellowship of NA, who was already there when I started my recovery, taking care of her, even if I didn't know her at that time. And we go to this meeting, it's called Miracle in the Mountain. And there's this guy sharing his experience because it's his birthday. And he's saying his terrible stories, he almost died several times, and now he's celebrating 5 years. And during his share, he's talking about her woman he saw a few years ago, and she was sharing her experience, strength, and hope. And she was sharing that she was so batshit crazy, but she managed it, that he gave him hope that he could work for him as well. And this lady is my wife. And I'm sorry, but this was experiencing the miracle of the, the power of the program. We speak about, we say don't live 5 minutes before the miracle happens. That was my miracle. I needed to see that, to feel the power of NA and to realize, wow, NA is already preparing the happiness of families, the reunion of families, the love stories of addicts. NA is preparing all this and we forget about it. This is what I love about meetings. It's like realizing, wow, I'm sitting with someone, and someone shared that in France a few years ago. I'm sitting with someone in a convention and he's sharing his story about almost ODing, and I was the guy who called 911. This is what I love about NA. And to experience that, you need to stick, you need to come regularly, and you need to get involved in service. Otherwise, you're going to get the shallow power of NA, which is already strong. It can keep you clean. But if you really want to experience the miracle, get deep into it and you'll love it. That's what I have to share.
Thank you, Louis. We're now into the last couple of minutes. James, can you be quick?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks. On a spiritual level, it's just seeing the life coming back into people's eyes. And a non-spiritual level, I've turned up at meetings because there's been celebrities there, because I'm not very well still. And just I like it when a nice, good-looking woman comes into the meeting and I see other guys. I have a laugh about that. Sort of, or them, oh, do you need any literature? Blah blah blah. And if there's homemade cakes going or whatever, I'll be there. Yeah. Although,
thanks, James.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. It's like with me, I'll finish this and hand to Paul. I can't say how many meetings I've been to in the 30 years I've been coming to Narcotics Anonymous. I just know it's a lot. But when I've sat in a meeting and I've heard someone share and I've identified that one addict helping another, or that identification with an addict is without parallel, when they've told their life story, and as they've gone through it, I've ticked the boxes and they've basically told me my life story, that's been one of the most moving moments for me. That really, really has. And I'll just throw in there quickly, my most fearful moment was I was dating two different girls in Narcotics Anonymous, and I went to the Pimlico meeting on a Saturday morning, and I must have been 6 months clean, and I was asked to do the chair, and I was self-obsessed. And both girls who didn't know each other came into the meetings, were sitting there and going to share back to me. You'll have to ask me privately what they shared, because they didn't know. So I'll leave it with that one. Hand it back to you, Paul. I need to shut my mouth.
We should have had any meeting car crash stories like that one. That would have been like the funny question at the end. Brilliant, Frankie. I think I've got nothing to add. One of the questions that we had Frankie had put down was, is it okay to ask a question during an NA meeting, which is great for anyone. So step 8 tells us that asking a question at any point during any NA meeting gives us the benefit of group conscience. So feel free to do that if you're ever in a meeting. In fact, do it. That'll spin people out. Thank you. I think we could unmute, could we, Matt, just to thank everyone, to thank Frankie for facilitating such a wonderful workshop.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Frankie.
Frankie,
thanks,
Frankie.
Thanks, Frankie.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. Right, you just threw me there, James. What was I going to do? Right, we're moving on to the next thing, which is the cards. I think we're doing some cards. Thank you again, Frankie. By the way, Frankie mentioned at the start, that's what I was going to say, that when we post the link in the WhatsApp group, which hopefully all of you are on, if you're not, I can add you, you'll see if you scroll down past the Zoom link, there are YouTube links from the previous workshops, and we'll add this workshop to next week's meeting that we put out. So feel free to check it out and check out that channel, because there's lots of good stuff on there. Brilliant. Can we have a hand up for Nikolai? We do recover.
All right, my name's Nikolai. I'm an addict. We do recover. When at the end of the road, we find that we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative, either go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
Nice to see you tonight, Nikolai. And Joe, would you like to do the Just for Today? Joanne.
Yeah, I'll do that, Paul, thanks. I didn't have my hand up, so if somebody else has got their hand up. No?
No, feel free.
No. Okay. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm still an addict. Just for today, tell yourself, just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to
fear. Thank you so much. Don't need the next card. We'll go straight to the prayer. And someone from Jericho maybe could start us off. And I think everyone can unmute now and join in.
Sam Addict.
Sam.
God grant me serenity. To accept
things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom
to know the difference.
to know the difference.
Work together.